Good morning. We are once again in the okra. It is that time of year. It is that time of year where it feels like we are spending all of our time in okra. Ugh. Great example of balance, both in the life, or both in the garden and in life in general. Knowing how much of something you should plant can be difficult. Now this year I planted a patch. It's probably about I guess we're about 30 feet. We got 4 rows of okra, 30 feet long, maybe 10 feet across, which is not enough space wide, road spacing. We talked about that, giving enough space. But it gives me a lot of okra. It gives me plenty to eat on a daily basis if I choose to eat okra daily, plenty to share, and plenty to put in the freezer. All of this that I'm pulling in right now is about to go into a Ziploc bag, go into the freezer. Now, some folks may have other methods of preserving their okra. I take it pretty much straight from the garden to the freezer. I don't cut it, blanch it, or anything like that. Wash it, let it dry, into Ziploc bags, straight into the freezer. And what that does is it leaves me with whole okra in the freezer. Leaves me with whole okra in the freezer. And I can pull those out, and they're easy enough to cut frozen with a good sharp kitchen knife. Now, okra is one of the easier crops to grow in a way that you don't need a whole lot of fertilizer on it. As a matter of fact, it really doesn't care for much fertilizer at all. If you have a backyard garden in a subdivision where they've brought in and put in all this fill dirt to level out the ground, and you got really poor soil and you got plenty of sunlight. That's the one thing, is it needs full sun. It needs a full 8 to 10 hours of sun a day. It needs to be out there. It likes to be out there in the sun. But it also likes really poor sandy soils. So if you have really lousy soil in your yard, okra is a good choice for you. Of course, unless you're having to hide a garden from an HOA, okra might be a little bit obvious to them. It gets tall. It'll get well above my head by the end of this year. It'll get to the point where I won't even be able to come out here and harvest it like a normal person. I'll have to use a step ladder or just give up and chop it all down because I have too much in the freezer already. As for harvesting okra, there's a rule of thumb. This is too big. This is as big as my thumb. This is good. This is actually just starting to get too big, and I can feel that in here. It's kind of got, they'll get fibrous, and it's more difficult to cook those fibers down the bigger the okra gets. The no-see-ums, listen, we have no-see-ums in South Carolina. I don't know what they like about your ear holes, but man, they get in there, they get into the corners of your eyes. You'll see me sometimes out here in a bee veil, but I can't do a video. I got a beekeeper's veil that I'll put on and harvest okra in, but it's hard to do a video in that. So the rule of thumb is as big as your thumb. Now, if you're going to be pickling okra, and listen, I recommend pickled okra. I really recommend that you learn to pickle okra. Pickled okra is divine. It is a delicious, nutritious, wonderful, oh man, and especially if you have a big greasy meal with lots of barbecue and pork fat and everything and it's dripping, you need something to kind of cut through that, and a good pickled okra, man. And then there's one other thing that you can do. We know about fried okra. We know that we can cut these up, we can bread them, we can fry them. We also can take pickled okra, drain them, dry them, bread them, fry them. Fried pickle okra. Oh, There's nothing like it. The rarest of the rare dishes found in only the most exquisite of soul food restaurants. Man, and kitchens, and my kitchen. And I'll tell you what, you'll thank me. Grow some okra, pickle some okra, fry some pickled okra. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. Yeah, love okra. I don't like the spines. They have spines. Now, like I was saying, if you pickle okra, you're actually going to want it to be, you're going to favor the smaller, more tender ones. Oh, here's a good one. This one is, oh, let's get a couple of these. And let's find one that's, oh man, here we go. So we got a couple of them here. This one, probably too big. It's going to end up going to my neighbor's pigs. What are we doing? This one, too big. Probably going to go to my neighbor's pigs. These, now I can feel this one's getting long, but it hasn't gotten fibrous yet. These, perfect. Of course, not everybody likes okra or has had okra prepared properly. Now, listen, if you're going, Jerry, I don't like okra, it's slimy, let me tell you, it has not been cooked correctly for you, because if it's cooked correctly, there's no slime. Cooking correctly means cooking, see, that's a leaf cutter bug, or leaf foot bug. And we're gonna get them. We're gonna get them. Get in there. But if it's slimy, then it hasn't been cooked correctly, or it hasn't been cooked long enough, or it hasn't been cooked with enough acids added to it. And what I mean by acids, I mean tomatoes, vinegar, a little splash of pepper vinegar is a great way to do it. Listen, hear me now, listen to me later. Get off me. So if you're saying, well, okra's slimy, I don't like it, it's because it has not been cooked properly for you, or you have not cooked it properly. It hasn't been cooked long enough. It hasn't been cooked with enough acid. Okra and tomatoes is so popular because tomatoes provide a wonderful amount of acid. If you're just chopping up and frying up some okra, cast iron pan's the best way, but we don't all have cast iron pans. You don't have to have a big cast iron pan. You don't need to have hog jaw and fat back to go in there. If you're on a low cholesterol diet, you can cook okra in a pan with olive oil. Yes, you can cook okra in a pan with olive oil, tomatoes, throw some onion in there if you like, you throw garlic in there if you like, you throw whatever else that you got in the garden in there. You can cut corn off of the cob and drop that in there for a little pop of sweet. You can put squash in there. You can put a little bit of your zucchini cubed up and thrown in there. I'll take single leaves of, if I don't have a whole lot of collards to get, I'll just take a couple of leaves of collards, strip the stem off of them, chop them up finely, and I'll throw that in there too. Or not finely, but chop it up coarsely and throw that in there too. So it's a wonderful base item for a dish that can change every night. You got okra stew, fried okra, fried pickled okra, you know, we can go through all that like Forrest Gump. But yeah, if you're saying okra's slimy, then it's not been cooked right for you. Okra should not be slimy when it's in your plate, on your plate. We did get rain. So we did get rain. It's rained a lot. Had a good boomer of a thunderstorm. This is actually the next day from when I started this video, and we are sick of squash and zucchini. We have had all the squash and zucchini that we can eat for the spring, and we have a freezer full of squash and zucchini. The plants behind me are starting to get a little buggy, and so it's time to get rid of them. All good things must come to an end, and here goes the squash and zucchini. So this is what happens to the stuff from the garden that we don't want to leave in the garden or take to the compost. We got some friends over here that are going to take care of it for us. And what are the plants? And guys, there's all kinds of yummy, juicy, vine-borne beetle larvae in here too. Oh, and they will eat that. Yes, they will. That's the protein. Let's start with this. Cut one for you. Go for it. Let's see if we get the rest of them. An actual vine-boring beetle. I realize these are so hollow. Yeah, it's kind of neat because those stems are just, they're empty, and when you're pulling them out, they make funky noises too. Sounds like plastic water bottles and such.
Right.
Oh, eggs for something. Probably vine-boring beetles. Here's a good zucchini, guys.
You can already hear them.
Here's a good zucchini. All right. So the big ones are great for making zucchini bread. If you don't want to make zucchini bread today, put them in your cheese shredder, shred them up, stick them in Ziploc bags, put them in the freezer. Put a date on them so you don't forget which year they came from. Because if you're like me, there's a lot of veggies in your freezer. It's good to see you. Y'all have a beautiful day.